All right, perfect. It is the magic hour. I'll get the recorder going on my side too, just in case. Let's see here. There we go. All right, for the record, it's December 3rd, 2025, 10 o'clock a.m. I'm Phil Albrecht's hearing examiner for the city of Port Orchard. And this morning, we're holding a hearing on an application for a site-specific rezone, file number LU25-rezone-01. And it looks like we got a mix of people attending in person today and online, mostly online, but we've got at least a couple people in the hearing room there. When we get to the public testimony portion, of course, everyone will have an opportunity to speak, whether you're in the hearing room or online. Just make sure that you register your interest to be heard. We'll tell you how to do that once we get to that portion of the hearing. But the hearing format today is we'll start off with a presentation from staff, and it looks like that's going to be Connor Dahlquist. Is that correct, Mr. Dahlquist? You're going to be doing the staff presentation today?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so he'll give us an overview of his staff report, which is a summary of how staff came to the conclusion that the rezone meets the city's standards for rezone approval. After he's done with that, then we'll move on to the applicant. If the applicant wants to add anything, they can. That's not required. It's up to you. But if you want to say something, that would be the time would be right after the staff report. Then after that, we move on to the public portion of the hearing, which is public comments. I'll probably start off with people in the meeting room first. We'll just ask, anyone who wants to speak to raise their hand or something, or we'll go through the sign-in sheets, and you just need to go to the podium there and I'll swear you in. We'll need to get the spelling of your last name just to make sure we don't embarrass ourselves if we refer to some of your comments in the final decision, and then go ahead and make your comments. After I've finished with the people in the room, we'll move on to people who are attending virtually. So far, we've got looks like at least 5 members of the public probably that are at least watching, and some of them likely will want to say something. After all that, then we go back to Mr. Dahlquist to answer questions that people ask during their presentations. And Mr. Dahlquist also has the opportunity to submit rebuttal evidence as he finds necessary to make a complete record for a good decision, or I should say, in my case, recommendation to the city council. After Mr. Dahlquist has done the applicant as a matter of due process, because they're the ones that have to prove they meet all the code criteria, they get to go last, present the last rebuttal evidence. And I get a couple of weeks to issue a recommendation to the city council. Now, usually, in most cases, the hearing examiner decision is final and it's only appealable to court. That's the way most cities handle it. But by state law, rezones are subject to final approval by the city council. They're considered legislative actions that have to be adopted by an ordinance, and only the city council has the authority to adopt an ordinance, not hearing examiners. At the same time, though, and this is where it gets a little strange under state law, there's only one public hearing allowed per development project. And so since I'm holding the public hearing, the city council isn't allowed to hold its own hearing. They have to rely upon all the testimony that's presented in this hearing today. By state law, people aren't allowed to present new evidence to the city council. So, if you want to, be sure that the council, considers some of your concerns, make sure you get your concerns in the record today, before the hearing is closed, so that I can forward those concerns to the city council. Usually what I do when I prepare these recommendations, at least when there's some public testimony, is I'll have an informal transcript put together, and I'll also address all the concerns raised by everybody point by point in the recommendation to the city council as well. So now by state law too, I'm only allowed to consider evidence that's put in the record today. That's a state legal requirement to ensure that we're all on a level playing field, that everybody knows what information is being considered for the final recommendation, final decision. So under those laws, I'm not allowed to talk to staff about the project or anybody else. Any documents that I look at for this recommendation of the city council has to be available to everybody else so they can see what was considered as well. So Mr. Dahlquist, in preparing his staff report, has put together an exhibit list. And I keep on forgetting, for the city of Port Orchard, you put your exhibit list. It's not in the staff report, it's on a separate document. Is there somebody that can share screen that can show that exhibit list? I don't have that immediately available. I apologize. Like I said, it's usually just in the staff report, but Mr. Dahlquist, do you have
Yeah,
that, the exhibit list?
it's preferred. Just I don't know if Jackie had a list on hand. She's in the room right now, our permit planning clerk.
Okay,
But I
hold
can, yeah.
on.
can also
Oh, here we go.
share.
I got it. I've got it.
Okay.
Just found it. All right. It's index of record. Let me share my screen here. Oh, I'm not allowed to share screen either. Ms. Kirkhoff, can you enable me to share screen? No, that doesn't appear to be. Well, I'll just identify real quick, give an overview of the documents that were used to put together the staff recommendation. It's composed of the application, inspection cards, some utility documents about a sewer extension, site grading and utilities. We have surveys. The environmental review, under state law, the environmental checklist is used to determine whether an environmental impact statement needs to be put together, and the determination based on the checklist for that was that it wasn't required for this rezone, and that's pretty common for a rezone of this size. Let's see, and we have the notice documents for the project. And yeah, that's pretty much the bulk of it. So does anyone need to see any of these? We've got like a total of 34 documents or have any objection to their entry in the record. There's the list right there on the screen right now. So seeing and hearing no takers. If you do object, just click on the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, or if you're in the meeting room, just wave your hand if you need to see any of those or object. Not seeing, and that's pretty standard. I mean, this is the only grounds for objection would be that they're not relevant to this proceeding or maybe not authentic documents. So I'll go ahead and admit exhibits 1 through 34, as well as the staff report itself. And Mr. Dahlquist, at this point, let me swear you in. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
All right. Good morning. Connor Dahlquist, Associate Planner for the City of Port Orchard. With me today also is Nick Bond, Department of Community Development Director, and then Chris Hammer as well, Assistant City Engineer. Provided with the staff report for Whole Avenue rezone are 34 exhibits, as we covered. Staff provided an index of those exhibits, and would like to include the exhibits in the record. Since the application was submitted earlier this year, the city has been reviewing the proposed rezone to ensure compliance with the Port Orchard Municipal Code and consistency with the adopted comprehensive plan. The applicant proposes a site-specific rezone of approximately 2.7 acres total where Sherman Avenue transitions into Whole Avenue. The nearest intersection for reference is Sherman Avenue and Melcher Street West. The subject property consists of 2 tax parcels currently designated as Residential 2 or R2 and Greenbelt or GB. The rezone request only applies to the R2 portion of the site, seeking redesignation to R3. If approved, the applicant's stated intent is to construct townhomes in 1 apartment building with associated infrastructure improvements, including upgrades to Whole Avenue, as seen fit at the time of development application is submitted. Townhomes are permitted in the R2, but however, apartment buildings are not. Proper notice was provided to the public consistent with the requirements of the Port Orchard Municipal Code, including notice of application, CEPA determination, and the public hearing. Those notices are provided and indexed to the record. Staff received 2 comments to the application in response to the notice of 2 comments on the application in response to the notice of application, and 1 petition outside of the designated comment period. These are generally related to the traffic impacts, critical areas, and potential residential densities. Most comments received were project specific in nature and would be addressed at the time of development application is submitted. These comments were considered in application review. The CEPA responsible official issued a determination of non-significance on September 18th, 2025. 2 additional comments were received related to the DNS. The city then issued a modified DNS on October 29th, 2025, due to an error in public comment period. Per the WAC in POMC Title 20, comments to the lead agency shall be within 14 days of the date of issuance of the DNS. So the modified DNS reflected the correct 14-day comment period ending November 12th, 2025. And neither the DNS was not appealed. The subject property is designated in the city's comprehensive plan as medium density residential. As proposed, the rezone from R2 to R3 satisfies the specific comprehensive plan goals and policies identified in Section 2 of the staff report. The R3 designation is consistent with the medium density residential land use category and supports the city's goals of providing diverse housing options, accommodating forecasted population growth, and promoting efficient land use of residential land while retaining the Greenbelt designation to protect critical areas. Because the application is a rezone, it does not approve site or specific site development or infrastructure improvements. Those developments will be reviewed at the time of future development permit, when public comments on traffic safety, stormwater, and critical areas mitigation can be considered. So at this stage, staff has reviewed the rezone for consistency with the Port Orchard Municipal Code, the comprehensive plan, and the SEPA requirements. And then the greenbelt, as mentioned, will portion of the property will remain unchanged to protect those critical areas. And based on the findings in the record, the Department of Community Development finds the application consistent with the criteria of POMC 2042-030. The department also acknowledges the substantial public opposition documented in the exhibits to the record. Given the application's consistency with the ordinance criteria and the documented public comments opposing the request, the department issues a neutral recommendation to the hearing examiner. The department neither supports nor opposes the requested site-specific rezone, but affirms that the application is eligible for consideration under the applicable regulations. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Okay, yeah, I got a few.
Yep.
And this is always unfair to staff, unfortunately, but the courts, in addition to the criteria you have in the code for approving a rezone, the courts also impose a couple of their own. And the primary is that it's either the rezone is either necessary to implement the comprehensive plan or at least implements the comprehensive plan, or there's been a change in circumstances since the parcel was last zoned. And that's just, of course, feel that you shouldn't be rezoning too often, that people rely, upon stable, property regulations, that kind of thing. So, I mean, can you cite to any change in conditions since this was last rezoned that justify the necessity to change it? Is this necessary to meet your population targets, for instance? Has the surrounding area been, increasing in density? What is there anything that's changed since it was last rezoned that makes it, that creates this necessity?
Yeah, in the history of this the low area, you have the Forest Song redevelopment rezone is R3. But that happened in the 70s. So that would say that would be probably the nearest density density increase that's happened nearby. Even though the rezone wasn't nearby, the project is being built right now. So that kind of creates precedent for is this an appropriate land use reclassification in the area. We acknowledge that the area, the neighborhood um, the existing current neighborhood beyond for the Forest Song development, but I would say, yeah, the current development happening right there at Melcher and Sherman does create some pattern of bringing more multifamily housing options in the area.
Okay, and I certainly agree with you that now's not the time to talk about any future projects. But it is appropriate to talk about whether, the infrastructure can handle or is appropriate for the increase in density that'll be facilitated by the rezone. And there were a lot of comments about the streets not being adequate, about the sidewalks, not being there. I mean, and obviously, if a future development is done, they're going to be probably required to put in their own sidewalks on the street frontage. Would that make any big difference in this particular area, or is this? I mean, where are the nearest other sidewalks to this rezone area?
Yeah, I don't know if I want Nick to jump in before I answer that. But there's pedestrian infrastructure just north of this. So directly where this property is on the whole, there is no pedestrian infrastructure, but just north of that, there is existing sidewalks and safety features that could be connected to if seen fit by improvements needed when the development application is submitted. I don't know if Nick wanted to add to that. Is your hands raised?
Mr. Bond, we'll swear you in. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Mr. Bond.
So I just wanted to add on to the question about the change in circumstances. Our comprehensive plan was adopted in 2024 as part of our periodic update, so it is a fairly recent comprehensive plan adoption. Under the 2024 comprehensive plan, one of the things that the city has to do that is new under state law is, in addition to making sure we have enough capacity for housing and employment, we are now required to plan for housing at various income bands. And so Port Orchard, while on paper we have the land capacity to accommodate housing at all income bands, we really aren't seeing the development of housing as much as is needed in the 0 to 80% AMI income band. And so, adding additional supply, I think, is a bit of a change in circumstance now that we have this requirement. And so, it is possible that adding additional land in the R3 zone would increase our capacity for that income band that we are currently not seeing a lot of housing development in.
Oh, thank you. That really helps. Thanks, Mr. Bond. Anything else?
That is all.
Okay, all right. And okay, and so let's see what else. I think yeah, that's pretty much all I had, Mr. Dahlquist. I mean, you know, like I said, there were a lot of concerns about the roads being subpar in the opinion of the neighbors. I mean, are these roads unusually deficient compared to other parts of the city? I mean, you know, in other words, I'm just trying to look at, you know, from a perspective of the existing infrastructure, is this a bad place to increase density as opposed to other parts of the city?
Yeah, Chris is on here as well, if he wants to be sworn in. But in the analysis, yeah, so improvements would be made in conjunction with proposed development if this was approved. So as of now, it probably wouldn't be appropriate with existing conditions, but those, of course, would be changed when development is proposed, and connections to existing infrastructure and traffic improvements to the nearest major intersections would be made and considered. Yeah, right now, yeah. So that would all be dependent on if and when proposed
Okay.
project specific would be made. And if Chris, you had anything, or Mr. Hammer?
And Mr. Hammer, if you say anything, I'll swear you in.
Okay, I could add some detail if that's desired.
Okay. Yeah, I'll swear you in then. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
So just a little bit of a lay of the land. So to expand on what Connor was saying, yeah, Whole Avenue currently has 9-foot lanes and no sidewalks for a segment. The Forest Song development's going to extend the sidewalks down on one side of the street along their frontage. There's some sidewalks that are further north on Whole Avenue. A development of this scale would, if it generates more than 30 trips, which it would as proposed, not to say it couldn't be scaled back, but would require offsite improvements to address those deficiencies.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Mr. Hammer. And let's see, I just, you know, I think putting a recommendation to the city council, I'll probably want to take a look at the surrounding land uses from an aerial photograph, Google Maps. Is there any objection out there at me looking at Google Maps just to get a good lay of the land for the surrounding community? Okay, hearing, seeing none. Again, just click on the virtual hand at the bottom of your screen if you're attending virtually, but we'll go ahead and hit Google Maps aerials for the surrounding area. Okay, with that, I guess we're ready to move on to the applicant at this time. Does anyone from the applicant want to address the application at this point? Any takers? All right. Yikes! Yeah, that's a good one. That right there. Okay, sir. If let me swear you in real quick. Just raise your right hand. Sorry, I take it you're part of the applicant team. Is that correct? Okay. I'm not, yeah, I can't hear him. I think, yeah, since he turned off his mic.
You think the Zoom card needs to be unmuted?
Yeah, still not coming through. Yeah, we need it for the hearing recording too. Is there somebody in the council chambers that's looking at that?
Yeah, we have staff in the council chambers.
Okay, they're working on it.
It'll be resolved here momentarily.
Yeah, we'll give them a minute. At worst, I guess we can get him a laptop and then he could just, you know, work from a city computer station.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Is that
All
better?
right.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to the hearing, sir. Let me swear
No.
you in. Just raise your right hand. You swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding.
I do.
And what's your name, sir, for the record?
No Larson.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Larson.
Um, I'd like to reiterate a couple of things that were said, which also I think were included in the comments that were received. One of the primary things that I think project a rezone like this brings to the area is the frontage improvements. And one of the things that was brought up was the possibility of this site being redeveloped would actually create a connection between Forest Song and properties to the south, potentially sidewalks all the way to downtown. Essentially it's an infill type situation. So we've got Forest Song and neighborhoods to the south, and we've got the neighborhood to the north that has sidewalks, and this is kind of a connector piece. The second thing that I think I'd like to be considered is the change from R2 to R3 in this case doesn't, I think, make a huge difference in how much the site could be developed. Our intent primarily with the rezone is to provide the option of having apartments along with townhomes or some other higher density type construction. Given that if we were to build townhomes, we believe that could build roughly 75 bedrooms versus around 100 bedrooms if they were apartments. So I don't think there's a huge difference between those two things or between the current zoning and what we could do under R3. Either way, we'd have to do a lot of frontage improvements, sidewalks and that sort of thing. So either way, that's going to happen. Other than that, as the report said, housing is actually really needed in the area. We're falling behind, and this particular property, because it's in an urban growth area, really meets all the goals of the Growth Management Act. And that also aligns with the comprehensive plan in Port Orchard, and the Port Orchard Municipal Code actually addresses a lot of the concerns that were presented by the neighbors as far as frontage improvements and infrastructure and that sort of thing. So those are the main things that I wanted to touch on currently based on what I've heard so far.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Larson. Well said.
Thank you.
All right, move on now to public comments. As I said, first we'll put members of the public in the meeting room. And Ms. Krakow, do you see anybody in the meeting room that wants to speak? If you want to say something, just raise your hand at this point. Just don't see anybody sitting out there from my vantage point. So other than the applicant, nobody in the meeting room?
I do have one applicant who put their hand up.
Okay, all right, come on up to the podium, whoever rose your hand, and we'll swear you in and you can get started.
I'm waiting for them to unmute themselves.
Oh, no, well, at this point, I'm asking about people in the meeting room.
There are no other.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's just the people attending virtually then. All right. Yeah. So we'll just wait for the person to unmute themselves. See who that is. That's Lindsay, Whole Avenue resident.
Hello. Sorry,
there you are.
I was waiting for the people in the room to speak, so I wasn't.
Yeah, me too. Now
expecting.
I think we're past that confusion finally. So
Yeah, so give me one second.
Oh, sorry.
I'm putting together my sheet. Okay.
Okay.
Do I have a specific amount of time that I'm allowed to speak for?
Well, if you could try to keep it under 5 minutes. Like,
Okay.
What's your last name for the record?
Paradiso. It's Paradiso.
Okay, Ms. Paradiso, let me swear you in. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Am I able to turn my camera on, or does that not matter?
No, you can. And I was trying to find your video, as a matter of fact. Let's see here. Yeah, have you used Zoom before? Because at the bottom left of your screen, there should be a little video camera. And if it has
I
a red
have,
line
but
through
I
it-
don't have the option.
Oh, that's.
I think we need to bring her in as a panelist for her to share
I
her
see.
video.
Yeah, I think, people, if they want to show themselves, they should be able to. So let's bring her in as a panelist then.
All right, I'm back and I can do video now. Okay.
Okay, there you are. We see you. Okay, great. Go
Nice to
ahead.
see you. Okay, thank you. I have some comments presented or ready, so I'll just
Mhm.
say them. Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Lindsay and I live on Hull Avenue. I'm asking you to deny the proposed rezone of 1083 Hull from R2 to R3 because the request is not compatible with the established character, function, and long-range planning vision for the neighborhood. Hull Avenue is a low-density, single-family corridor made up of large lots and long-term homeowners. The current R2 zoning reflects what actually exists here. An R3 designation would introduce a scale and intensity of development that doesn't align with any surrounding parcel and would create a sudden, unplanned disruption rather than a thoughtful transition. The applicant mentioned that an R3 designation could allow 75 bedrooms in townhomes or up to 100 bedrooms in apartments, and frame this as necessary because the city is falling behind in housing. But that doesn't reflect what's happening, in my opinion. Several large apartment complexes have already been built nearby, including the Forest Song apartment complex that is right across from this proposed parcel, um, with hundreds of new units added and more that are currently under construction. The city is already producing significant housing in locations that are planned and equipped for this level of density. The question isn't whether we should be adding housing, but it's whether this parcel is appropriate for this type of housing, and it simply isn't. While we're close to downtown, the area doesn't function as a mixed use district with a walkable daily service, like towards walkable daily services. Most residents still rely on vehicles to get to basic needs. The proximity alone doesn't justify the medium density zoning. R3 areas are intended for or R3 zoning is intended for areas where infrastructure and services already support it, and that's not the case here. This request also, again, but going to Forest Song, I feel like that is an additional negative precedent that's being set. They said that that Forest Song was a precedent. I feel like that raises almost more of a concern because we're trying to add far too many people into an area that can't support it. Like I said, I'm not opposed to housing. I just think that we need to consider appropriate placement and scale and stay consistent with long range planning. And that's thank you for my time for your
Okay,
time.
great, great comments. Thank you. All right. Anyone else out there want to add anything at this point? Just to click on the virtual hand at the bottom of your screen, and we'll figure out how to get you up on to be heard today.
Hi, yes, my name is Savannah Coates.
Okay, Ms. Coates, let me swear you in. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
And do you want to be seen today?
It doesn't matter to me if
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
I'm not too worried about it. Join us.
Okay, go ahead then. Yeah. And how do you spell your last name for the record? Ms. Coates? Uh-oh. Did we lose her?
I promoted her to a panelist in case she wanted to use the.
Oh,
There we go. Sorry, it just
there
took
she
me
is.
just a second.
All
Hello.
right. Yeah.
My name is Savannah Coates and I live at 1080 Hull Avenue. I'm directly across the way from them. My biggest concern here is they are speaking about putting a sidewalk in that will connect to the other sidewalk. That's not going to happen. That there's not going to be a way to get that sidewalk in. First of all, because there's 3 houses that's plus my property that's very large. They're not going to be able to connect them. This is a very dangerous road already. I have people go down this road a million miles an hour, and my driveway is a blind hill driveway. If they put an apartment complex over there, it's going to be very, very dangerous for these kids and their bus route. I also these 2 properties are mine. Are 3/4 of a mile nearest the public transit bus stop and shops like Extra Mile, Tremont, Pottery, 7-Eleven, Bay Street. While this may seem like an approachable distance, the lack of pedestrian infrastructure in either direction to reach these services show that the neighborhood cannot responsibly support support a development of at that scale being proposed here. Well, there's a development a short distance up the road, Sherman and Melcher. There's a significantly steep walkway that would not sustain handicap access to the nearest area with sidewalks. Additionally, the developments in that area have resulted in a bus stop at Melcher and Sherman, which is a very tight corner, and two cars can't even turn at the same time. The bus, when it takes the corner, has to go into the other lane. It's actually dangerous for the kids to have a bus stop there as well. The sidewalk, I do not feel safe having my child travel to that intersection for buses. They are now picked up out in front of my house, which is also very hazardous because of the hills, and you cannot see to pull out of the driveway. My home is not in front of my home doesn't seem reasonable to have an increased amount of children crossing the road for the bus stop here, or to move up and down the road for an alternative located pickup. I'm new to this neighborhood, and while we selected it for its proximity to town over a previous residence that I used to live in Southworth, we did not consider this as a walkable neighborhood. We fell in love with our home due to the surrounding green spaces and tight-knit communities evident at the Habitat for Humanity neighborhood and the rest of the homes on the plateau near Hull, Taylor, and Smith. And that's pretty much all I got. I'm just really concerned about the danger it's going to bring to everybody pulling in and out of this area, because there's nowhere to put a sidewalk in. You can get one out in front of that property, but you're not going to meet any sidewalk that goes to any other roads. There's too much other people's property. They're not going to allow you guys just to put a sidewalk out front. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful. All right. Anyone else out there? Again, just click on the virtual hand if you want to say, oh, we got another one, Mr. Norby. Let's bring him up. All right. Okay, Mr. Norby. Yes, we don't see you on camera. If you're intending to be seen, we don't see you yet, but that's fine. That's your choice. You there, Mr. Norby?
I can go without camera.
Okay. All right. Let me just swear you in. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
And your last name is spelled Norby, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Good morning, members of the community and panel. My biggest concern is the proximity to resources. Both, as it's already been stated, it's not really a walkable neighborhood outside of the street itself. So from the northern corner of Hull Avenue to the end of the sidewalk to the south, that's really the amount of walking you can do safely, especially with kids or pets. The type of housing potentially being suggested, lower income housing, it typically comes with people who rely more on those services or walkability. It's not a judgment on my part. I've been there. I understand. The concern comes in if it's not a walkable area, why are we cramming housing designed for these people to get a leg up in the world into that zone, if that makes sense?
Definitely. Is that it, Mr. Norby?
That is everything I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Anybody else out there? I think Ms. Wallstrom, you had your hand up before. Yeah, let's bring her in then. There she is. Okay, Ms. Wallstrom. And is your last name for the record, is that Wahlstrom?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did you want to be seen or not? Your camera's off.
You can turn my camera on.
Okay, actually, I think you have to do it from your end. Right, Ms. Krukoff? Yeah, you'd have to go on the bottom left of your screen there. Just click on the video camera.
There's a functionality that she's enabling as each person uses it, as I understand.
Yeah, once you're promoted to panelist, and I think you've been promoted, right, Ms. Krukoff?
I haven't seen it yet. If we don't get it soon, I can just continue as is.
Yeah, let me swear you in. Just well. Oh, now she's muted.
Okay, there we go. Hi.
Okay. All right. Let me swear you in, Ms. Wallstrom. Just raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I swear and affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
All right. Go ahead.
I have talked with several neighbors about this, and I know that some of the infrastructure is among the things that has been brought up, but some of that is just such a salient feature of the community. There's a plateau near Taylor and Smith Street where there has been possibilities to establish sidewalks, and they do get used. But at around the point of 1002 Hole Avenue or 1011 Hole Avenue, the sidewalks do disappear, and there is the sidewalk that has come down to the area where like Melcher and Sherman meet at Grant. And I think it's great that that has become available, but as Savannah has mentioned, it's not really a good segue in between the two different areas. And 1061, 1083 only takes up a portion of that. And I appreciate the baked in settlement or development process of adding the necessity for sidewalks in order to get projects approved. The plain fact is that it's just this like pocket of an area. Forest Song is on an additional plateau. And at that point, they even also have their own barriers to access. Once you get to the next intersection up to Tremont and Pottery. And so piecemealing the sidewalks doesn't grant this as a walkable neighborhood. Additionally, the people who have residences directly up against Forest Song have complained about additional threats to their vegetation, such as Douglas firs, with the removal of all of the vegetation. They've noticed that they have had a lot more tree fall and those sort of things since that property has been developed. With the, I think it's either Alderwood, Sandy Loam, or maybe the Kitsap Indianola. It looks like it has, so this has to do with the report. It looks like that has a tendency to hold on to water in areas or in times of high saturation, such as when we receive atmospheric rivers. And one of the most severe, as someone who's lived in this neighborhood for 20 years, one of the most severe atmospheric river events we had was about 15 years ago, but we do know that those are going to be coming with increased severity. And so it feels incredibly negligent to kind of overlook that, because all of the upslope properties, such as where Savannah Coates was and where Forest Song is, those properties had cascading water, which was coming into the homes and basements for the downhill side because the water was just saturating. And if you were to add something with so little permeable layers, such as parking lots, buildings, and those sort of things, even at a 75 bedroom level, much less a 100 bedroom level, for the combined, I think maybe 3 to 4 acres that 1061 and 1083 make up, it just doesn't seem like a safe level of development. And I'm concerned that with removing the vegetation and having the lack of permeable layers, as well as an increased threat to all of the other vegetation that could help stabilize the hill that goes to Port Orchard Boulevard, which is a green belt, a designated green belt, and it has intentionally been kept that way. That a lot of the stability of that hillside does come at risk. I do understand that there was no standing water when they did that survey, but that didn't take place during a high precipitation event. I just wanted to check my notes and see, the disconnected sidewalks. I actually am really excited to hear about this being developed. I consider all the people in Port Orchard my neighbors, including those who are unhoused. And I know that some have taken up areas such as the addresses that are listed. And I'm excited to have neighbors of all income levels join our area. I just don't think that even 75 beds, much less 100, is sustainable. If you look, I think it's 917 or 919 Hole. There was a recent fire maybe 10 years ago. It was a single property and it ended up becoming two separate properties. To me, that is an example of sustainable development that matches the way that this neighborhood is. And even if there were families who ended up having children who were going to be using a bus stop in that unsafe area that Savannah ended up pointing out, it's just a handful versus the several dozen potential ones. And we still don't even know the impact of the loss of vegetation from forest song because we haven't weathered the storm where we're going to see the impact of different atmospheric river events, such as the one that I have cited that did provide basically curtains of water coming on the downhill side of those slopes.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Wallstrom. Again, very helpful. So, all right, anybody else out there? Again, just click on the virtual hand. I think we got everybody. So back to Mr. Dahlquist then. Have any comments to make, Mr. Dahlquist?
Didn't get any questions, just some great comments, feedback for neighborhood context. So appreciate the public feedback and the critical areas concerns and the space for infrastructure improvements that may be required when development is proposed. Yeah, no follow-up besides, yeah, thank you.
Okay, finally, Mr. Larson, you get final word. Do you want to say anything? Oh no, he's muted again. We got to get him audible.
The Zoom card again. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, can you hear me
There
now?
we go. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Larson.
Something that I've heard brought up a number of times here that I'd like to address is this idea that increases in density in this particular neighborhood don't really fit. A mixture of densities across Port Orchard isn't that unusual. There's actually a number of developments. I'll give a few examples. Mariners Glen at Jackson and Lund, Orchard Point at Pottery and Lippert, and the Keyway Park apartments on Sydney are a few examples where we have apartment complexes mixed in with single family neighborhoods. I think that works and just wanted to put it out there that this isn't really an unusual combination across Port Orchard. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Larson. All right, with that, I will go ahead and close the hearing. And like I said, I got about a couple of weeks to send a recommendation to the City Council. If any of you want to get a copy of that, be sure to share your email address with the city. And Mr. Dahlquist, where should they send their email address if they want to get a copy of the recommendation? Is that to you or Ms. Kirchhoff, or how does that work?
Yeah, they can reach out to what email they should reach out to clarify.
Sure, yeah. You want to give your email address? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so they can reach out to Permit Center, Permit Center at portorchardwa.gov, or of course my email, cdahlquist@portorchard.wa.gov. And I can type, I was going to type them, but it doesn't look like I can share text.
Oh, there's no chat there. Yeah,
but,
yeah.
They can reach out to the Permit Center.
That, just call the planning department. I'm sure they'll share that information with you. And no, these really good comments today, and I'm glad that the community got those comments in at this stage of review. I mean, so often what I see as a hearing examiner for a few dozen jurisdictions is when someone proposes a department building, I'll have a room full of people upset saying that kind of density isn't appropriate for their neighborhood. But if the property's already been zoned for that density, there are even state statutes that say you can't reconsider, density choices that are made in the zoning code. Once that's in the code, that can't be changed when a specific application is made. So this is the time to do it, and you all got in, I think, all the information necessary to make a a reasoned evaluation for the city council. I mean, even if I recommend approval, I'll still be forwarding, of course, all your comments, like I said, by transcript and also summarizing them. And of course, that'll include the petition and the comment letters as well. It all goes to the city council so that they can consider that information as well. So, as I said, if you want to see a copy of that recommendation, be sure to share your email with the planning department. That'll be sent to you. And then once my recommendation comes in, the planning department will be scheduling what they call a closed record review by the city council. Again, that means they can't consider new information. It's just the information I give them. And then they'll be, if they decide to approve the rezone, they'll be adopting that by ordinance. So that's a process that'll take probably at least another month or probably more. So anyway, thanks again for all of you participating today, and hope you have a great holiday. We're adjourned.